all the way back.
This screen is incredibly reflective.
You can actually drag it out, and on that point the Odyssey does very well. This is the Honda Odyssey, and for over 25 years it's been shuttling families around from A to B. But nowadays it seems that families don't want to be shuttled by it. As an example, in April of 2019, only 92 Odysseys found new homes in Australia. 92! As an example of scale, Lexus sold more of their V8 $170,000 LX 570s in the same period of time. Part of the reason is that families now are moving towards SUVs, and they're spoiled by choice with the amount of models and ranges available. Also is that people movers and minivans have never been really seen as cool cars. But what I'm here to show you is that these type of cars are probably some of the coolest you can buy. Powering the Odyssey is a 2.4-litre naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine, and that produces 129 kilowatts of power and 225 Newton-meters of torque that's sent through a one-choice CVT transmission to the front wheels. Stepping inside the cabin, and I feel like when these sort of vehicles are in development, the designers are given a bit more freedom than they would be in a traditional SUV or a sedan, because there's innovations in places which make you wonder why they're not in every other car. For instance, there is a tray down below the gear shift, like in any other car, but if you want more space, push this button and you can actually drag it out and up towards you, and it's big enough to store your loose items and more. And in there's also 2 additional cup holders.
Alright, I didn't know that this car had this feature, but the Odyssey can actually park itself. What you have to do is push the camera button and then push the P icon here. But unlike other systems, it can actually park in a space when there's no cars next to it, because a lot of systems scan spaces between 2 cars. So if there isn't any, it won't be able to do it itself. But the Odyssey is different. So you press that, and then these green boxes actually, it can detect the white lines between the parking spaces and it will try to map out a box. So if I move forwards, you should see this green box try to align itself with that parking space. There you go. So it's picked up on that one. So if I want to park there, I just push that. And what it's going to do, this blue box is where the car's going to go. So I don't have to do anything with the steering wheel. It drives towards it itself. And it aligns itself with that box. In a minute, it's going to beep. Then I put it in reverse, and then it'll park all by itself. Look at that! And we'll see how accurate it is. It's pretty much dead in the center. So well done.
But it's the back seats where the Odyssey takes the prize. Our top of the range model comes with 2 captain's chairs, and even for my 6'3" or 190 centimeter body frame, I've got plenty of knee room and acres of headroom. But if there's no one sitting behind you, then these seats can do something very special. First thing you've got to do is you've got to remove a safety bar in the guardrail that stops you from accidentally crushing the rear seat passengers. And then you can see here on my seat there are 4 levers, which makes me very excited. So let's go. The first one, that slides the seat closer to the aisle. That allows you then with the second lever to push them all the way back to even where I don't touch the seat in front of me. And the third lever, you can recline. And the best part is with the fourth one, up pops a footrest. And look at this. Who needs an S-Class? I've got my own climate control, my own air vents, reading lights, I have my own sunshade and bottle holders. It's just nice. These winged headrests as well make sleeping very easy.
Whilst the Odyssey is getting on in its years, the cabin still feels very nice and it is very well screwed together. The upper door panels are soft and lined with contrasting white stitching. There's also this gloss wood effect. It would be nice if this was matte, and it also avoids fingerprints and scratches. Same goes for the door card. But it is a nice place to spend time, and it is family friendly. This being a minivan, of course, you can walk right through, and you can store bulkier items here as well. In the center is a huge speedometer, and I also like the way the needle is hinged from the back, so as it's rising up, it looks like it's floating. Nothing too complicated here. On the left, there's a digital tachometer, and on the right, a digital fuel gauge. In the center, there's a monochrome display, and it goes through different information such as your fuel economy, range, and also trip time. There's also the average speed, and you can toggle through different vehicle settings. Whilst other Hondas have been updated to their newest infotainment system, unfortunately the Odyssey has been left behind. This is the first generation touchscreen system that they debuted, I think 4 years ago, and sadly that's pretty much it. It hasn't been updated since. So there's no volume knob, no Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, and no digital radio. Also, you might be able to see that this screen is incredibly reflective, so under certain sunlight it is pretty much unusable.
Okay, choke test time. So we've got a 1 litre thick Gatorade bottle. Let's see if it fits anywhere in the cabin. So we'll start with the driver's door card. No. Center cup holders. No. There's no center storage here, so we can't test that. Glove box, yes. So that's 1 out of 3. Unfortunately, the Odyssey fails. In the third row, my head does hit the roof, so I probably wouldn't want to be here for too long of a journey, but anyone up to 6 foot should be perfectly fine, even for longer car trips. As mentioned before, the side windows are huge. Rearmost passengers get their own air vents, and it is a comfortable place to be. These seats are quite supportive, although leave it to 2 in the back unless you want to get squishy. Around the back, once you open this enormous tailgate, and keep in mind tall people will have to duck because it doesn't open very high, with the third row in place there is 330 litres of space. Notice just how deep the boot floor goes, so you should be able to stack suitcases in vertically, no problem. Getting the third row down does take a bit of a process, but it's not too difficult. First you have to lower all the 3 headrests, and watch out for your finger as they come down, and then lower all 3 backrests. And then pull the handle and the strap at the same time, which pivots it into the floor. Then you have to lock it with the red strap. When the third row is down, there is 1,332 litres of space. I always find it funny when some motoring journalists drive these cars and say critiques like it's not sporty or fun to drive. But the thing is, that's not the point of the Odyssey. This is supposed to get you and your family comfortably, and it's supposed to be easy to drive. And on that point, the Odyssey does very well. The thing is, it doesn't drive like a minivan, it drives like a normal car. If you've watched my Hi-Ace video, then you'll notice similar comments. This engine and powertrain combination can be summed up in 2 words. First is smooth, the second is underpowered. Now, with me on board, and only me, it's okay. And I really stress the use of okay. If I want to get a hustle on, I will have to boot it, and because it is a naturally aspirated engine, it has to rev. But it is acceptable with just 1 or 2 people on board. I don't really want to know how it responds with 7 people and their luggage, but that's where the V6 really would have come in useful. Okay, I'm going to wait for the lights to turn green, and then I'm going to floor it. Let's see what the Odyssey has got. Ooh, okay. So there's that initial poke, which is good, but then it runs out of breath as it begins to build up the revs. And once it gets over 4,000, then the engine comes alive again. So it's okay, but fast it is not. Performance-wise, I really like the way the steering is weighted. It feels light but not overly assisted, and it's actually quite direct, more than I initially thought. Same goes with the brake pedal. It behaves exactly how you'd expect it to. It's got a linear response, and the pedal feel is also good. The driving position is bang in line, so the steering wheel, pedals and the seat are centered so you don't feel twisted behind the wheel. And visibility is excellent, you can probably see through the camera. And a lot of that has to go with these windows just behind the A-pillar. They make maneuvering in tight spots dead easy as well. Also, fuel consumption is not the best. Honda say you can get 7.6 litres to the 100. I like to call that a lie because you're never going to get that figure. I've been doing a mix of driving over this weekend, and so far the best I could do was 11.9. If you want to carry 6 to 7 adults comfortably, then minivans are still really your best option. And the Honda Odyssey does just that. It carries you and your family comfortably from A to B. And if you want to impress some people, go with the top of the range model and they can experience business class comfort in the second row. The thing is, the Odyssey is starting to feel its age in places, and it could really use a more powerful engine and much better infotainment. And with the new Toyota Grand Via coming along very soon, the Odyssey is going to face even more competition in what is, in Australia at least, a fairly limited market. What do you think of the Odyssey? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure you're subscribed to keep up with the latest reviews, and I'll see you in the next one. There's also something about electric sliding doors which is so cool, just to watch. Do it for hours.